Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Kenosha History Center. Today we have a very special presentation by RG Productions. We're very lucky and fortunate to have them here. Longtime friends of ours. They've done many shows here, hopefully doing many more. Today, obviously, we have a little action in our harbor. And to go along with that, we are going to do a presentation on Treasure Island. But before we begin, I'd like to thank, first off, the City of Kenosha and Alderman Jan Michalski for arranging this show today. And also special thanks to Rick Haggerty, the sound engineer, Nita Hunter, the sound designer. And without further ado, here is RG Productions. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Without further ado, here is Nita Hunter with RG Productions.
Ahoy, me mateys, and welcome to today's production of the Mercury Theater on the Air's 1938 version of Treasure Island. Me and me mates have a swashbuckling adventure ready for you this afternoon. We got kids, we got maps, we got treasure, we got cannons, we got it all. And when you're done, you can head right across the harbor and see the real thing. A couple of things we want to share with you before we get started, because we're about sharing the history of Kenosha and radio in Kenosha. Today's production was adapted and starred none other than Kenosha native Orson Welles. He was he starred in Herman Melville's Moby Dick. He had a cameo role in that production, which some people feel like was his most outstanding cameo role. Synchronicity is happening with us. Not only do we have the tall ships in the harbor, but yesterday was Herman Melville's 200th birthday. So we're super excited to be here today. Before we get started, looking to the future, we have a performance on the 13th of October. Fibber McGee and Molly will be performing at the Johnson Wax headquarters. Hello. Home to Fibber McGee and Molly at the Golden Rondelle. So be sure to put that on your calendar. We're very excited. That's Sunday, the 13th of October. And let's give a big hand in advance to our swab off to the side, Jason Rimkus from Kenosha Community Media. And you can watch this production at a later time if you look at their website or ours. So, let's get started. Treasure Island, enjoyed your show, me mateys.
The Columbia Network takes pleasure in presenting Orson Welles and the Mercury Theater on the Air in the second of a unique new summer series of 9 dramatic performance productions. The first time in history that radio has brought to the country an entire theatrical institution. Columbia is proud to welcome Orson Welles to its roster of stars and to give him the opportunity of bringing to the air those same qualities of vitality and imagination that have made him the most talked of theatrical director in America today.
Good evening. This is Orson Welles speaking. Now, if there's anything bloodthirstier than a werewolf, it's a pirate. And the Mercury Theater is playing safe. Now, if vampires and their ilk leave you as uncannily cold as old Dracula himself, who was staked down firmly, and it is to be hoped, permanently in his own family plot last week, then there are figures to prove that you are susceptible to buried treasure. We calculate that no decent, law-abiding citizen is immune to pirates. Now, there are cowboys and Indians, there are gangsters and G-men, but these delights are inconstant, like the short skirt. Now, I don't care how young you are. Nothing charms, nothing ingratiates, nothing wins like a one-legged, double-barreled buccaneer with earrings, a handkerchief on his head, and a knife in his teeth. What could be more appropriate on the starboard rail of your four-masted brigantine? Now, if you haven't a four-masted brigantine, you have Treasure Island. It's in your library because it is a great English classic. And this evening, because it's a great story, it's on your radio. That's what I mean by playing safe. Once there was a small boy who asked his stepfather, who had written a number of books, please to write something interesting. Well, the stepfather, seeing his point, immediately contributed a serial to something repugnant called Young Folks, a periodical circulated among that section of the English nation known as Tiny Tots, who were very prevalent in the 80s. Now, the name of the serial was The Sea Cook by Captain George North. And if the Tiny Tots didn't think it was interesting, well, then they all should have been boiled in oil. The story was begun, the stepfather says, on a chill September morning by the cheek of a brisk fire and the rain drumming on the window. The small boy himself helped a lot, even though Captain North got the credit. And so did a third and equally incurable small boy, the author's father. Now, they drew a map first, a chart of an island showing very queer and wonderful attractions. A spyglass shoulder, for instance, and Skeleton Island, and the North Cache with the bar silver. And then, on that chill September morning, by that brisk fire of theirs, the three plotters buried their plunder. Doubloons and louis d'or, gold and silver, and rich jewels and pieces of 8. That's why the story was finally called Treasure Island. Now, it's foolish to guess who's tuned in on this broadcast, but if in some way, well, we who are retelling this story hope devoutly that he, who the Samoans laid to rest in the hills of their own faraway Treasure Island, and who is still known out there only as the great teller of tales, would not wish tonight, as he did to so unaccountably at first, to resuppress the real name of Captain George North. Now, that small boy, of course, should have been decorated. It's a better world because he asked for something interesting, but then he was lucky. There are millions and millions of small boys, but only one of us had Robert Louis Stevenson for a stepfather.
Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson with Orson Welles as Long John Silver, who tells the story Treasure Island.
Squire Trelawney, Dr. Livesey, and the rest of the gentlemen having asked me to write down the whole particulars about Treasure Island from the beginning to the end, keeping nothing back but the bearings of the island, and that only because there is treasure not yet lifted. I take up my pen in the year of grace 1783 and go back to the time 19 years ago when my father kept the Admiral Benbow Inn, and the brown old seaman with the saber cut first took up his lodging under our roof. I was 14, but I remember him as if it were yesterday.
15 men on a dead man's chest. Yo ho ho, and a bottle of rum.
Jim!
Mother called me from upstairs.
Jim!
Yes, Mother?
Jim, there's a man coming up the road. Go out and see what he wants.
Drink and the devil have done for the rest. Yo ho ho, and a bottle
He came
of
plodding to the inn door, his sea chest following behind him on a hand barrel. A tall, strong, heavy, nut-brown man, his tarry pigtail falling over the shoulders of his soiled blue coat, his hands ragged and scarred with black, broken nails, and the saber cut across one cheek, a dirty, livid white, singing that old sea song that he sings so often afterwards.
Yo ho ho, and a bottle of rum. You, open up in there. Yeah, now then, boy.
Yes, sir?
Now, what do you call this place?
The Admiral Benbow Inn, sir.
Admiral Benbow, eh? Nice, lonely-looking, pleasant situated grog shop. Folks don't come here much, do they, boy? Not much company?
No, sir.
No.
More's the pity.
Well, then, it's the berth for me. Yeah, I'm a plain man. Rum and bacon and eggs is all I want. And that head up there for which to watch ships off. I have a mind to stay here a bit. Hey there, you matey with wheelbarrow. You with the barrel. Bring up a long slide, would ya? Help, bump me chest. Loot you, boy. It's heavy.
Yes, Captain?
You ain't seen him, have you?
No, sir. Who do you mean?
Long road, maybe. You might have seen him somewheres. Can't tell. Let me know if you do, boy. Let me know. A seafaring man.
Yes, sir.
With one leg.
Yes, sir.
Captain!
Yes, Captain.
Bring me a noggin of rum, boy.
And so he came to live under our roof. We never knew his name. We called him the captain. He was a very silent man by custom. All day he hung around the cove or up on the cliffs with a brass telescope, staring out to the sea. All evening he sat in a corner of the parlor next to the fire and drank rum and water, very strong. And every day when he came back from the stroll, he would ask the same question.
Hey, Jim!
Yes, Captain?
Any seafaring men go by today along the road there?
No, Captain.
And Jim?
Yes, sir?
You're a good boy, Jim. You wouldn't lie to me ever, would you? Jim?
No, sir.
You haven't seen them, have you, Jim? Jim, there's a silver fourpenny for you on the first of every month if you keep your weather eye open for the seafaring man. The one with one leg. Let me know the moment you sees him, won't you? Jim, he's a seafaring man with one leg.
How that personage haunted my dreams. On stormy nights when the wind shook the four corners of the house and the surf roared along the cove and up the cliffs, I could see him in 1,000 forms. Now the leg would be cut off at the knee, now at the hip. Now he was a monstrous kind of creature who had never had but one leg, and that in the middle of his body.
Hey, you'll keep your weather eye open there, won't you, Jim? For a seafaring man with one leg? Yeah, a seafaring man with one leg.
Months went by. The captain bade fair to ruin us, for he kept on staying week after week, month after month.
And never a penny of money, Jim. Not a penny has he paid us since the day he came here. And me, a poor widow woman.
Mother, why don't you ask him for some?
Well, I'll tell you the truth, Jim. I'm afraid to ask him. I'm afraid of the man. Now, if your father was alive...
In all that time, none of us ever saw him open the great sea chest that was in his room. There were nights when he took a deal more rum and water than his head could carry.
15 men on a dead man's chest. Yo-ho-ho, and a bottle of rum.
Often I have heard the house shaking and all the neighbors joining in for dear life.
A drink and the devil have done for the rest. Yo-ho-ho, and a bottle of rum. Quiet, amidships! Quiet!
He would force them all to listen to his stories. Dreadful stories they were, about hanging and walking the plank and storms at sea and the dry Tortugas and wild deeds and places on the Spanish Main. By his own account, he must have lived his life among some of the wickedest men that God ever allowed upon the sea. The captain had been living with us almost a year when there occurred the first of the mysterious events that rid us at last of his presence. It was one January morning, very early, a pinching, frosty morning. The captain had risen earlier than usual and set down the beach with his telescope under his arm. My mother was upstairs, and I was laying the breakfast table against the captain's return when the parlor door opened and a stranger stepped in.
Sonny, come here, Sonny. Is this table for me mate Bill?
I don't know your mate Bill. I'm laying this for a man who stays in the house. We call him the captain.
Well, me mate Bill would be called the captain, like as not. Now, we'll put it for argument like that your captain's got a cut on one cheek, and we'll put it, if you like, that cheek's the right one, eh? But of course, beside me, there he is now. There's me mate Bill. That's him with a spyglass under his arm. Bless his old heart, to be sure. You and me'll just get back behind the door, Sonny, and we'll give Bill a little surprise, we will. Bless his heart. I says again.
15 men on a dead man's chest. Yo! Oh.
Hello, Bill. Come, Bill. You knows me. You knows an old shipmate, Bill, surely.
Black dog.
Black dog as ever was, Bill. Bill, we seen a sight of times, us two.
So you've run me down, have you? Well, here I am. Well, speak up, what is it?
That's you, Bill. You're in the right of it, Billy. Now I'll have a glass of rum from this dear child here, what I took such a liking to. And we'll sit down, if you please, and talk square like old shipmates. Sit down, Bill. And you, Sonny, get aft.
Yes, sir.
None of your keyholes on me, do you hear?
For a while, I could hear nothing but a low gabbing. Suddenly, the voices began to grow higher.
No, 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 and that's an end of it, I says I. If it comes to swinging, swing all, says I.
I saw a black dog streaming blood run off down the road. Presently, the captain returned, alone.
Jim? Jim. Give me some rum, lad.
Captain, are you hurt?
I must get away from here. Get away from here. That's what. I must get away from here.
Oh, what's happened, Jim? What's happened?
It's the captain, Mother.
The captain? Oh dear. Oh, dearie me. Oh, what a disgrace. I've been afraid of something like this ever since he came into the house with that old chest of his.
I got the rum and tried to put it down his throat, but his teeth were tightly shut and his jaws were as strong as iron. An hour later, our friend, Dr. Livesey, came.
Doctor, what shall we do?
Where is he wounded, Doctor?
Wounded? The fiddlesticks end. No more wounded than you or I. The man's had a stroke.
Where's Black Dog?
Black Dog? There is no black dog except what you have on your own back. You've been drinking rum, man, and you've had a stroke. Now listen to me. One glass of rum a day won't kill you, but if you take one, you'll take another and another. And then you'll die. Die and go to your own place, like the man in the Bible. And the world will be rid of a very dirty scoundrel. Do you understand that? The name of rum for you is death.
About noon the next day, I stopped at the captain's door with some medicines.
Who is it?
It's me, Jim.
Oh, come in, Jim, come in.
He was lying very much as we had left him.
Jim, you're the only one here that's worth anything. You know I always been good to you. Never a month, but I given you a silver fourpenny for yourself. Now you see, mate, I'm pretty low and deserted by all. Jim, you'll bring me a noggin of rum, won't you, matey?
But the doctor said that...
The doctors is all swabs. If I don't have a drain of rum, Jim, I'll have me the horrors. I seen some of them already. Seen old Flint in the corner there behind you, as plain as print. I seen him, Jim. I'll give you a golden guinea for a noggin.
When I brought it to him, he seized it greedily and drank it out.
Aye, that's some better, sure enough. Now, matey, did that doctor say how long I was to lie here in this old berth?
Why, a week at least.
Thunder! A week, I can't do that. They'll have the black spot on me by then. The lubbers is going about getting the wind of me this blessed moment. The lubbers as couldn't keep what they got and want to nail what's another's. It's in the old sea chest, Jim, with the thing that they're after. They'll tip the black spot on me, I know it. I was the first mate, I was. Old Flint's first mate. And I'm the only one as knows the place he buried it. He gave it me at Savannah, when he lay a-dying.
What's the black spot, Captain?
A summons from old Flint's crew. A summons. And them that gets it, Jim, is lucky when they're dead.
So, a week went by, and then, about 3 o'clock of a bitter, foggy, frosty afternoon, I saw someone drawing slowly near along the road. He was plainly blind, for he tapped before him with a stick, and he wore a great green shade over his eyes and nose, and he was hunched as if with age or weakness, and he wore a huge old tattered sea cloak with a hood.
Kind Christian friends, take pity on a poor, blind seafarer who's lost the precious sight of his eyes in the gracious deference of his native country, England. And God bless King George, where or in what part of this country he may be now.
You're at the Admiral Benbow Inn, sailor.
Eh?
Black Hill Cove.
I hear a voice, a young voice. It's here where I miss me dead lights. Still, will you give me your hand, my kind young friend, and lead me into the captain?
I held out my hand, and the horrible, soft-spoken, eyeless creature gripped it in a moment like a vice.
Now, boy, you take me into the captain.
Sir, upon my word, I dare not.
You heard me. Take me in straight. Will you take me into the captain?
Yes, sir.
Good. And when I'm in view of him, say to him, "Here's a friend for you, Bill Bones." And if you don't, I'll twist your arm right out of the socket. Do you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Stash your patter. Damn ya. Now, forward. March.
Here's a friend for you, Bill Bones.
Now, Bill, sit where you are. Business is business. Hold out your left hand, Bill. Here, boy, take my left hand. Take his left hand by the wrist and bring it near to my right. And here's a little bit of paper for you, Bill. Bill Bones. Yeah, now that's done, and I'll be going. Goodbye, Bill. Goodbye.
Jim?
Yes, Captain?
What time is it, Jim?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. 10 o'clock. 6 hours. We'll deader 'em yet. Pew and Black Dog and Long John Silver. The whole crew of 'em all. We'll...
Captain? Captain? Captain! Captain!
The captain was dead. And there we were, my mother and I, a woman and a boy of 14, alone at night in the house with the dead captain's body on the parlor floor.
Oh, he owes us money, he does. A whole year and never a penny from him. And me, a poor widow.
But, Mother, if Black Dog comes back, or the blind man...
Oh, Black Dog fiddlesticks. There's something in that old chest of his upstairs that's rightfully mine. And we'll have that chest open if we die for it.
Mother, I...
Close the blinds, Jim. We don't want anybody watching us from the outside. There now. So we have to get the key off him.
Look, Mother, look.
On the floor, close to the dead man's hand, there was a little round of paper, blackened on one side.
The black spot.
I took it up and found that...
You'll have till 10 tonight. 4 hours.
Oh, now, Jim, find that key.
I felt in his pockets, one after another.
Oh, perhaps it's round his neck. Tear open his shirt.
There, sure enough, hanging on a bit of tarry string, we found the key. Then my mother got a candle in the bar. And holding each other's hands, we went upstairs to his room.
All right. Give me the key, Jim. Now then. Nothing in there. Not a thing of value, not a penny.
Mother, look.
There before us lay the last things in the chest. A bundle tied up in oilcloth, looking like papers, and the canvas bag that gave forth a touch, the jingle of gold.
Do you see, Jim? I knew we'd find it. But I'll show these rogues that I'm an honest woman. I'll have me due, and not a farthing more. Here, Jim, hold this bag.
The coins were of all countries and sizes, doubloons and louis d'ors, and guineas, and pieces of 8.
Mother.
What is it, Jim?
Mother, listen. Come, Mother. Mother, take the hole and let's be gone.
No, I'll have me do, Jim, and no more.
But, Mother, you heard him. That was the blind man.
I know what I'm doing. I know my rights.
But, Mother, you don't know.
Oh, dear. I'll take what I have.
And I'll take these papers. Quick, Mother, quick, take my hand.
Next moment, we had opened the door and were in full retreat toward the village.
Look, Jim, over the hill. Here they come.
Run, Mother. Mother, run.
Oh, Jim. Oh, Jim, I'm going to faint. Oh, Jim. Oh, take the money. Take the money and go on.
Mother.
Oh.
Mother.
She had fainted. I managed somehow to drag her down the bank into the shadow of the ditch. A moment later, the house was surrounded.
Bones! Bones! Bill Bones, will you answer me? Down with the door then. In, ye lubbers. Loot the house and find it.
Bill's dead.
Hey, Pew, Bill's dead.
Well, search him then, you shrieking lubbers. And the rest of ye, aloft and get the chest.
It was a good thing my mother had fainted, or she would have had to watch with me while our poor house was pulled apart and smashed. Whatever it was they were after, they did not find it.
Well, is it there?
The money's there.
Oh, Jim. Jim, what is it, Jim? Oh, what are they after?
The map, Mother. Flint's map.
Hey, Pew, that's the signal.
Scatter me, lads.
Hold on, you sneaks. It's in the house. You know it is. Shiver me soul if I had me eyes.
The signal, Pew, the signal.
Ah, you dogs. You had your hands on it. Hundreds, thousands. Are you giving up now? We'd be as rich as kings if we could find it. You know what's in there, and you stand there skulking. There wasn't one of you dared face Bill. And I did it. I did, a blind man. And I'll be losing my chance for you. I'm to be a poor, crawling beggar, sponging for rum when I might be rolling in a couch. Oh, dear. If I had the pluck of a weasel, if you had the pluck of a weasel in a sea biscuit among the lot of you. No.
That's the last signal.
You know, scatter me, lads.
Black Dog, Dirk, Johnny, Dirk. No, you won't leave old Pew, mates. Not old Pew. Oh, Johnny, Black Dog, don't leave old Pew. Don't.
When they picked him up where he lay on the road on his side, Pew was stone dead. The horsemen, as it turned out, were revenue officers with some news of a strange lugger in Kit's Hole, and they set forth that night in our direction. They took my mother to a neighbor's house.
Well, Hawkins, they got the money, you say? Well, what fortune was they after then? More money, I suppose.
No, Sergeant, not money, I think. In fact, sir, I believe I have the thing in my breast pocket. And to tell you the truth, I should like to put it in safety.
To be sure, boy. Quite right. I'll take it.
I thought perhaps Dr. Livesey...
What? Oh, yes, Dr. Livesey. Perfectly right. Gentleman and a magistrate. Dagger.
Yes, sir.
You have a good horse. Take this lad up behind you.
Yes, sir.
We rode hard all the way till we came to Dr. Livesey's door.
Dr. Livesey, the doctor's supping tonight at the Squire's.
The Squire? So there we go, boy.
We arrived at the Squire's. He rose to meet us, very stately and condescending.
Come in, gentlemen.
Good evening, Squire. Good evening, Dr. Livesey.
Well, good evening to you, friend Jim. What good wind brings you here?
Then the officer stood up straight and stiff and told his story.
Sergeant, you're a very noble fellow. This lad Hawkins is a trump, I perceive. Hawkins, ring the bell. The sergeant must have some ale.
And so, Jim, you have the thing that they were after, have you?
Here it is, sir.
You've heard of this Captain Flint, I suppose, Squire?
Heard of him? Heard of him, you say? He was the bloodthirstiest buccaneer that ever sailed. Blackbeard was a child to Flint. The Spaniards were so prodigiously afraid of him that, I tell you, sir, I was sometimes proud he was an Englishman.
What interests me is, had he money?
Money? What are these villains after but money?
That we shall soon know. What I want to know is this. Suppose I have here in my pocket some clue to where Flint buried his treasure. Will that treasure amount to much?
Amount, sir? It will amount to this. If we have to take the clue you talk about, I'll fit out a ship in Bristol Dock and take you and Hawkins here along, and I'll have that treasure if I search a year, sir.
Very well now. If Jim is agreeable, we'll open the packet. Map of an island with latitude and longitude. Tall tree, spyglass shoulder, bearing a point to the north of northeast. Skeleton Island, southeast by east. 10 feet, and the bar silver is in the north cache.
Livesey, you'll give up this wretched practice at once. Tomorrow, I start for Bristol in 3 weeks' time. 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 10 days. We'll have the best ship, sir, and the choicest crew in England. Hawkins shall come as cabin boy, you, Livesey, as ship's doctor, and I as admiral.
I'll go with you, Squire. So will Jim, and he'll be a credit to the undertaking. There's only one man I'm afraid of.
Who's that? Name the dog, sir.
You, sir, for you cannot hold your tongue. In a few moments, we shall be bound for Treasure Island with Dr. Livesey, Squire Trelawney, and Jim Hawkins. We pause now for station identification. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
WABC, New York.
Tonight, the Columbia Network is bringing you Orson Welles and the Mercury Theater on the air in Robert Louis Stevenson's Treasure Island. As Jim Hawkins was telling us, we are eager to leave the Benbow Inn behind and set out for the docks in Bristol.
It was longer than the squire imagined ere we were ready for the sea. Weeks passed on. Then, one fine day, there came a letter from the squire from Bristol.
Dear Livesey, the ship is bought and fitted. She lies at anchor, ready for sea. It was the crew that delayed me, till the most remarkable stroke of fortune brought me the very man that I required. I was standing on the dock when by the merest accident I fell in talk with him. He had hobbled down there that morning with a parrot on his shoulder to get a smell of the salt, he said. Out of pure pity, I engaged him on the spot to be the ship's cook. Long John Silver he's called, and he has lost a leg. Well, sir, I thought I had only found a cook, but it was a crew I discovered. Between Silver and myself, we got together in a few days of company the toughest old salts imaginable. I declare we could fight a frigate. Seaward ho, hang that treasure. It's the glory of the sea that has turned my head.
On the 16th of April, the schooner Hispaniola set sail from Bristol Harbor. It was more than 19 years ago, but I can remember it as if it were yesterday.
Me in my new blue cabin boy's clothes,
19 years ago.
leaning over the rail, waving goodbye to my mother, and doing my best not to cry, for at the last moment, it sort of hurt to leave her, and it was the first time I had been away from home. Then, a little before noon, Captain Smollett gave an order. The boatswain sounded his pipe, and the crew began to man the capstan bars. Soon the anchor was shored up. Soon it was hanging dripping at the bows. And soon the sail began to draw, and the land and shipping to slip by on either side. The Hispaniola had begun her voyage to the Isle of Treasure. On the second day out, I made the acquaintance of our one-legged ship cook, Long John Silver.
Avast there, boy. Come in to Long John's galley.
To tell you the truth, at the very first mention of Long John Silver in the squire's letter, I had taken a fear in my mind that this might be the very one-legged sailor that I had watched for all those months at the Benbow Inn. But one look at him was enough. I had seen Captain Bones and Black Dog and Blind Pew, and I knew what a buccaneer looked like. Very different from this clean and pleasant-looking sea cook. His left leg was cut off close to the hip, and under his left shoulder he carried a crutch, which he managed wonderfully, hopping about on it like a bird.
Pieces of meat. Pieces of meat.
Are you Mr. Silver, sir?
Aye, me lad. Such is me name, to be sure. And you're Hawkins, eh? Well, nobody more welcome than yourself, me lad, in old John's galley. Now, sit down, hear the news. Your first trip to sea, Hawkins.
Yes, sir.
Well. There's a lot of things you're going to learn before this here voyage is over. What do you think, Hawkins? And if there's anything you want to know, you just come to old John Silver and you ask him. See ya? He'll tell you.
His galley was as clean as a new pin, the dishes hanging up burnished, and his parrot in one cage in the corner.
Now, this here's Captain Flint. I call my parrot Captain Flint. Yes, the parrot, after the famous buccaneer. Here's Captain Flint predicting success to our voyage. Wasn't you, Captain?
Pieces of meat.
Aye, she's a powerful old bird, is Captain Flint. 200 years old if she's a day. And if anybody's seen more wickedness, it must be the devil himself. She sailed with England, a great Captain England, a pirate, and on the old Walrus. Now that's Flint's old ship that I've seen amuck with red blood and fit to sink with gold. She's been at Madagascar, and at Malabar, and Suriname, and Providence, and Portobello. Now, to look at her, you'd think she was a baby, Hawkins, but no. You've smelt powder, haven't you, Captain?
Stand by to go about.
Ah, yes, and blood, eh, Captain?
Order amidships. Adam, all hands.
And pieces of eight, eh, Captain?
Pieces of eight. Pieces of eight. Pieces of eight. Pieces of eight. Pieces of eight.
At the end of the third week, we left the Madeira behind us. The ship proved to be a good ship. The crew seemed to be capable seamen. There were only one man aboard who was not satisfied, and that was the ship's master, Captain Smollett.
I will speak plain. I don't like it. I don't like this cruise. I don't like the men. I don't like me officers. That's short and sweet.
But nobody paid much attention to him. Every man on board seemed well content. Double grog was served on the least excuse. There was duff on odd days, and always a barrel of apples standing broached in the waist, for anyone to help himself that had a fancy.
Never knew good come of it yet. Spoil Forstal, ands, make devils. That's my belief. We're not home again yet.
But good did come of that apple barrel. It was about the last day of our outward voyage. Sometime that night, or at the latest before noon of the morrow, we should sight the treasure island. Just after sundown, when all my work was over, I thought I should like an apple. I ran on deck. The watch was all forward, looking out for the island. I got into the apple barrel. Suddenly, I heard voices on deck.
Look here, Barbecue. How long are we going to stand off on us? Like a blasted bumboat. By thunder, I want to go into that cabin. I do. I want their pickles and wine and all that.
How long? By the powers, the last moment I can manage, and that's how long. How many tall ships, think you, have I seen laid aboard? And how many brisk lads drying in the sun at Execution Dock? And all for this same hurry and hurry and hurry. Now, he's a first-rate seaman, Captain Smollett. Sails the blessed ship for us.
We're all seamen, I should think.
All forecastle hands, you mean. I know the sort you are. You're never happy till you're drunk.
Easy all, Long John.
Now, I don't know where this treasure is, do I? No more do you, says you, and here's this squire and doctor with a map and such. Well, now I mean that this squire and doctor shall find the treasure for us and help us to get it aboard by the powers. Now, after that...
After that? What do you do with them, John Silver, after that?
Well, what would you think we does with them, huh? Put them ashore like maroons, or cut them down like that much pork. Duty is duty, mates. Wait. Wait is what I says. When the time comes, why then, let her rip.
Land ho!
What's that?
What's that?
Land ho!
Away to the southwest of us, we saw it. Treasure Island. 10 minutes later, we were gathered in the cabin. The squire, Dr. Livesey, Captain, and myself.
Now, Hawkins, you have something to say. Speak up.
I did as I was bid. I told them the story of Silver's conversation. When that was done, all three, one after another, and each with a bow, drank my good health. Then the squire rose.
Captain Smollett, you were right, and I was wrong. I own myself an ass. I await your order, sir.
This Silver is a remarkable man.
Now here's the way I see it. We must go on, because we can't turn back. Now what I propose is that we don't wait for them to surprise us, but that we come to blows at our own time, and when they least expect it. There must be some faithful hands left. Well, we must find out who they are.
Jim here can help us more than anyone. The men are not shy with him, and Jim is a noticing lad.
Yeah.
Hawkins, I put prodigious faith in you.
In the meantime, talk as we pleased. There were only 7 of 26 on whom we knew we could rely. And of these 7, I was a boy. Set the grown men on our side were 6 to their 19. The next morning, there was not a breath of air moving, nor a sound, but that of the surf booming half a mile away along the beaches. A peculiar stagnant smell hung over the anchorage.
Probably a dead parrot.
The heat was sweltering, and the men grumbled fiercely over their work. Mutiny. It was plain, hung over us like a thundercloud. Around noon, Captain Smollett came up on deck.
Now, me lads. We've had a hot day, and we're all tired and out of sorts. A quick turn ashore will hurt no one, so you can take the gigs and as many as you please go ashore for the afternoon.
Lower away!
Hey, now, wait a bit, wait a bit, man. Hey, what's the hurry? I mean, really, what's the hurry, eh?
John Silver suspected a trick. He hopped around the deck on his one leg.
What's the hurry, man? Wait a bit. Men, will you wait a bit, men?
Soon, the party was organized. 6 fellows were to stay on board, and 13, including Silver, began to embark. Suddenly, I had a mad notion to go ashore, too. In a jiffy, I had slipped over the side and curled up into the 4 sheets of the nearest boat. No one took notice of me. The crews raced for the beach. No sooner had we touched shore than I had leapt out and plunged into the nearest thicket. Behind me, I could hear John Silver's voice.
Jim, me boy! Hey, Jim!
John Silver was quick at his work. 2 faithful members of the crew were murdered on the island that afternoon, only an hour after we landed. The second killing I saw with my own eyes, from where I lay hidden among the trees.
Now, will you tell me you'll let yourself be led away with that kind of a mess of swabs?
As sure as God sees me, I'd sooner lose me hand than turn again my duty.
Mate, it's because I think's gold dust of you, huh? Gold dust.
John Silver, you're a mate of mine no more. If I die like a dog, I'll die in me duty. You've killed Alan, have you? Well, kill me too, if you can. But I defies you.
He started to walk away.
He defies me. Try this, then.
Long John whipped the crutch out of his armpit and sent it hurling through the air. It struck him in the back, and it killed him. Then Silver brought out a whistle. I didn't wait. I ran as I never ran before.
Darby McGraw.
I looked up the side of the hill.
Ooh.
Far above me, I saw something leap behind the trunk of a tree. It seemed dark and shaggy. I turned and began to run. Suddenly, the thing appeared in front of me, and running forward, threw itself on its knees before me and held out its clasped hands in supplication.
Oh.
Who are you?
Oh, I'm poor Ben Gunn, I am. I haven't spoke with a Christian these 3 years.
3 years? Were you shipwrecked?
No, mate. Maroon, 3 years. I lived on goats since then, and berries and oysters. Mate, my heart is sore for Christian diet. You mightn't happen to have a piece of cheese about you. No? Well, many is the night I've dreamed of cheese, toasted mostly, and woke up again, and here I was. What do you call yourself, mate?
Jim.
Jim. Well now, Jim, you wouldn't think I was rich to look at me, would you now?
Why, no, not in particular.
Ah, well, but I am, Jim. I'm rich, powerful rich. Oh, Jim, you'll bless your stars, you will. You was the first that found me. Ooh.
Suddenly, his eye fell on the Hispaniola, lying far below us. Between it and the land was the jolly boat, with 5 men moving toward shore. But I could not tell if they were our men or the mutineers.
Jim, tell me true. That ain't Flint's ship.
It's not Flint's ship, and Flint is dead. There are some of Flint's hands aboard. Worse luck for the rest of us.
Oh, not a man with 1 leg.
Silver?
Whoa. If you were sent by Long John, I'm as good as pork. I know it. I was in Flint's ship with John Silvers when old Flint buried the treasure. He and 6 strong seamen. They was ashore nigh on a week. And then one day here comes Flint by himself in a little boat. And the 6 all dead. Dead and buried along with the treasure. Now he done it. Not a man of us could make out.
I told him the purpose of our voyage and the predicament in which we now found ourselves.
Oh, that Long John. He's a bad one. And then you're all in a clothes hitch, ain't you? Well, you just put your trust in old Ben Gunn. Ben Gunn's the man to help you. You tell that to your squire, Jim. Ben Gunn's the man. That's what you'll say. And Ben Gunn says you has ideas of his own. Whoa! Look at that.
Far below us, we saw a Union Jack fluttering in the air above the woods.
Aye, there's your friend, sure enough.
More likely it's the mutineers.
No, mate. Silverfly the Jolly Roger. That's your friend, sure enough. Ashore in the old stockade, made years and years ago by Flint. Whoa! What's that?
That's the ship's cannon. They're shooting at the stockade. Come on!
Wait a minute, Jim. Wait. Ben guns fly. Rum wouldn't bring down there, but remember, Ben Gunn's the man to help you. And when Ben Gunn is wanted, you know where to find him, just where you found him today.
I started to run towards the flag.
Hey, Jim.
Yes, sir?
You won't forget that piece of cheese, will you, mate?
It was less than a mile to the stockade. It was heavy running through the woods. The shouting was getting louder. Suddenly before me, I saw a clearing, and the smoke of muskets fired nearby. Hey there!
Who goes there?
Hey, don't shoot, it's me.
Who's me?
Me, Jim Hawkins. Moments later, I was over the stockade among my friends, and soon afterwards, the firing ceased. The mutineers were saving their powder. The stockade was a good place, with a paling 6 feet high all around it. We could have held it against a regiment. And here Captain Smollett decided to stay and await our enemy's next move. I told Dr. Livesley and the squire about Ben Gunn.
Avast there! Flag of truce! Flag of truce!
Who's that?
It's Silver. Keep indoors, man. 10 to 1, this is a trick. Who goes there? Stand or we fire.
I say again, flag of truce.
Doctor's watch on the lookout. Dr. Livesey, take the north side if you please.
Yes, sir.
Jim, the east. Gray, west. The watch below, all hands to load muskets. Lively, men, and careful. What do you want with your flag of truce?
Oh, now. Captain Silver, sir, come to make terms.
Captain Silver? Why, you black-hearted scoundrel,
Silence, sir, silence. If you wish to talk to me, you can come, and that's all. But if there's any treachery, it'll be on your side, and the Lord help you.
Oh, that's enough, Captain. A word from you's enough, huh? Now I know's a gentleman, and you may lay to that.
You'd better sit down.
What? You ain't gonna let me inside, Captain? No, it's a main cold morning, to be sure, sir, to sit outside on the sand. Oh, there's Jim. Top of the morning to you, Jim. Why, there you are, all together like a happy family in a manner of speaking.
If you've anything to say, my man, you'd better say it.
Well, right you are, Captain Smollett. Duty is duty, to be sure. Well, here it is. We want that treasure, and we'll have it. That's our point. Now, you'd just as soon save your lives, I reckon. And that's yours. You have a chart, haven't you?
That's as may be.
Oh, well, you have, and I know that. What I mean is, we want your chart. You give us the chart to get the treasure by, and I'll give you my affidavit, now, upon my word of honor, to clap you somewhere safe ashore.
Is that all you have to say?
Every last word, by thunder. Refuse that, and you've seen the last of me but musket balls.
Very good. Now you'll hear me. If you come up one by one, unarmed, I'll engage to clap you all in irons and take you home to a fair trial in England. And if you won't, as my name's Alexander Smollett, I've flown me sovereign's colors, and I'll see you all to Davy Jones. You can't find the treasure, you can't sail the ship, and you can't fight us. I stand here and tell you so, and it's the last good word you'll hear from me. Now tramp, me lad.
Oh, aye. Laugh, by thunder, laughed. Before an hour's out, you'll laugh on the other side. Them that dies will be the lucky ones.
10 minutes later, nothing remained of the attacking party but the 5 who had fallen, 4 on the inside and 1 on the outside of the palisade. The mutineers did not come back that night. They had got their rations, as Captain put it. The next day was stifling hot. After dinner, Dr. Livesley sent for me.
Jim, was it cheese you said Ben Gunn had a fancy for?
Yes, sir, cheese.
Well, Jim, just see the good that comes of being dainty in your food. You've seen my snuff box, haven't you? And you never saw me take snuff. The reason being that in my snuff box, I carry a piece of Parmesan cheese. A cheese made in Italy. Very nutritious. Well, that's for Ben Gunn. Well, goodbye, lad.
Then he took up his hat and pistols, grit on his cutlass, put the chart in his pocket, and set off briskly through the trees. That afternoon, the blockhouse being stifling hot, and the little patch of sand inside the palisade ablaze with midday sun, and so much blood about me, and so many poor dead bodies lying around, a new idea came into my head. This was to swim out under the cover of night, cut the Hispaniola adrift, and let her go ashore where she fancied. The mutineers, after the repulse of the morning, had nothing nearer their hearts than to up anchor and away to sea. This, I thought, would be a fine thing to prevent. It was evening when I reached the east coast of the island. I could see the Hispaniola lying at anchor offshore, and there was the Jolly Roger, the black flag of piracy, flying from her peak. As the last rays of daylight dwindled and disappeared, absolute darkness settled down on Treasure Island. The next night, I was back on land. I was proud of myself, and with good reason. I had grounded the Hispaniola, broached her up tidily in the North Inlet with no harm done, safe from the mutineers. I had no trouble finding the stockade. Coming in from shore, keeping close shadow where the darkness was thickest, I crept into the blockhouse. I could see nothing. The doctor and the squire must have worried about me. I should lie down in my own place, I thought, and enjoy their faces when they found me in the morning. I felt for a place to lie down.
Dick, me boy, bring me a torch. Well. Shiver me timbers. Jim Hawkins, eh? Dropped in like, eh? Quite a pleasant surprise for poor old John. Always liked you, I have, Jim, for a lad of spirit. A picture of me own self when I was young and handsome. I always wanted you to join my camp and take your share and die a gentleman. And now, me young cock, you've got to. You can't go back to your own lot.
Where are they?
Now, where do you think, me son?
Have you killed them?
Now, what do you think?
Well, I'm not such a fool, but I know pretty well what I have to look for. But there's a thing or two I have to tell you. And the first is this. Here you are in a bad way, ship lost, treasure lost, men lost. And if you want to know who did it, it was I. I was in the apple barrel the night we sighted land. And I heard you, John, and you, Dick Johnson, and Hans, who's now at the bottom of the sea, and told every word you said before the hour was out. And as for the schooner, it was I who cut her cable. And it was I who brought her where you'll never see her more. Not one of you. I no fear you, then I fear a fly.
I'll put one to that. And here goes, you sneaking son of a skunk.
And so will I.
Avast there! Now, who are you, Tom Morgan? Maybe you thought you was captain here, perhaps.
Tom's right. Kill the boy.
Now. Do any of you gentlemen want to have it out with me? Oh, him that wants it shall get it. Oh, you won't fight? Then by thunder, you'll obey. You may lay to that. Now, I like that boy, eh? Never seen a better boy than that. He's more a man than a pair of rats you in this here house. Now, what I say is this. Let me see him that'll lay a hand on him. That's what I say, and you may lay to it. Huh. Seems you have a lot to say. Pipe up now. Let me hear it or lay to.
John.
What?
We got something for you, John.
Oh, step off. I won't bite you. Hand it over, lover. The black spot. I thought so. Oh, what's on it? Deposed. Oh, deposed. That's it, is it? Oh, very pretty wrote, to be sure. Like print, I swear, but it ain't one bit prettier wrote than this.
What's that?
Oh, and what does it look like, lads? It's a chart is what it is, a chart. A chart of this island, old Flint's chart. Now, what do you say to that?
Yes, that's Flint's sure enough.
That's it.
J.F. and a clove hitch to it. So he done it.
Silver's the man.
Yeah, Silver.
Silver's the captain.
Barbecue forever.
That was the end of the night's business. Only much later, I woke up suddenly and felt someone beside me.
Jim, me boy.
Yes, Long John?
I saved your life for you tonight, Jim. Now, you and me, we stick close, Jim, back to back, like in case of trouble. And talking of trouble, Jim, why Why did those friends of yours leave that chart behind when they cleared out of here? They did, though. I came in here this morning. I found the place empty and the chart lying there on the table where I couldn't miss it. And there's something under that. Something under that. Something good or bad.
The next morning, we set out after the treasure.
All right, then. A tall tree, spyglass shoulder, bearing a point to the north and northeast. Skellington Island, east, southeast, and by east, 10 east.
Hey, over there, come quick.
At the foot of a pine, half covered with green creeper, a human skeleton lay on the ground.
Skeleton, be God!
It lay perfectly straight, the feet pointing in one direction, the hands raised above its head like a diver's, pointing directly in the opposite.
Now, it ain't natural, but you never know, lads. I have a notion in my old numbskull. Now here's the compass. There's the tip-top point of Skellington Island. That's sticking out like a tooth. Just take a pairing, will you, somewhere along the lines of them bones.
East, southeast, and by east.
I thought so now. It's a pointer. Right up there's our line for the Pole Star and the Jolly Dollars. This here's one of Flint's jokes, and no mistake. Him and these 6 was alone here. Now, alone, he killed them, every man. And this one he hauled up here and laid down by the compass. Yes. 6 they were, and 6 we are, and bones is what they are now.
I saw him dead, old Flint. There, he's laid with penny pieces on his eyes.
Dead? Aye, sure enough he's dead. But if ever spirit walked, it'd be Flint's. Dear. But he died bad, did Flint.
Aye, that he did.
Aye, main hot it were. The window was open, and I hear that old song of his coming out, clear as hell, and the death howl on the man already.
Listen.
15 men on a dead man's chest.
Do you hear what I hear?
Yo ho ho.
There's Flint, me God, old Flint.
Darby McGraw.
Oh, Lord!
Darby McGraw, fetched after the rum.
They was his last words, I swears it.
Darby McGraw.
Old Flint's last words, above board.
Oh, Lord!
Shipmates. There's 750,000 pounds, not a quarter of a mile from here. Since when did a gentleman of fortune show his stern to that much dollars for a boozy old seaman with a blue mug? And him dead, too.
Belay there, John. Don't you cross a spirit.
Spirit, well, maybe. You know whose voice that was? It was like someone else's. It was like. Oh, by the powers, Ben Gunn.
Aye.
So it were. Ben Gunn, it were him.
Why, nobody minds Ben Gunn, dead or alive. Nobody minds him.
All right, then. Spyglass shoulder, bearing a point to the northeast. Skellington Island, southeast by east, then 10 feet, and then,
Hey, mates! Here's the tall tree.
The first of the tall trees was reached, and by bearing proved the wrong one. So did the second. So the third.
Here it is! I, Long John, married. Here it is.
Before us was a great excavation, and this was the shaft of a pick broken in two, and the boards of several packing cases strewn around, all branded with the name Walrus, the name of Flint's ship. The treasure had been found and rifled. The 700,000 pounds were gone. We turned and saw above us, on the edge of the pit, Ben Gunn, Dr. Livesley, Gray, and the Squire, all with muskets. The doctor's plan had worked. The pirates had fallen into a trap.
John Silver, you are a prodigious villain and an impostor, sir. But you saved this boy's life, and I'll not prosecute you. Oh, but the dead men, sir, hang about your neck like millstones.
Thank you. Thank you kindly.
I dare you to thank me. It is a gross dereliction of my duty. Stand back.
It took us 3 days to move the treasure from Ben Gunn's cave on board ship. On the 8th day of December, the Hispaniola reached Bristol. 5 men only of those who had sailed returned with her.
Well, that was 19 years ago. All of us had an ample share of the treasure and used it wisely or foolishly, according to our natures. Captain Smollett is now retired from the sea. As for Ben Gunn, he got 1,000 pounds, which he spent or lost in 19 days, but he was back begging on the 20th. Silver vanished on the voyage one night off the coast of Mexico, and we heard no more of him. The bars, silver, and the arms still lie, for all I know, where Flint buried them, and certainly they shall lie there for all of me. Oxen and wain ropes would not bring me back again to that accursed island, and the worst dreams that ever I have are when I hear the surf booming up against its coast, or I start upright in bed with the sharp voice of Captain Flint still ringing in my ears.
Pieces of 8! Pieces of 8! Pieces of 8!
The Mercury Theater Treasure Island was presented by RG Productions. Today's show was directed by Nita Hunter and starred Ed Godula, Tom Jackson, Philip Yeager, Jim Kohler, Tony Lizaldi, John McLaughlin, Jan Michalski, Jay Rattle, and Amy Louise Seiler. Also featured our live sound effects artist, Candy Helson, assisted by Ed Godula. Our audio engineer was Rick Haggerty. Special thanks to Jason Rimkus for filming this presentation for Kenosha Community Media. I'm your announcer, Dan Sticka. Please join us on Sunday, October 13th at the Golden Rondell in Racine, where RG Productions will be presenting Fibber McGee and Molly. This is one show you don't want to miss. For more information, visit us at www.rgaudioproductions.com. Thank you very much.
We had a swashbuckling great time. I want to give one shout out. Young Tom Jackson, will you stand, please? You're the man. We're getting up there in years, and we love it when the youth come and steal the show. So you did a great job. One final thing. I have a silver Michael Award to hand out this afternoon. This is the last performance for one of our founding members, someone who's been with the group for 12 years, Jim Kohler. Can you come on up?
Yeah.
Jim is going to be moving to Indianapolis. He's played some amazing roles over the year. What are some of them?
King Kong.
Yeah, it was the tribal chief in King Kong.
Gosh, I can't remember all. There's so many of them.
Well, who's that, Mr. and Mrs. What is it? Well, we can't remember all of them.
War of the
so we're gonna
Worlds.
go,
War
right.
of the Worlds.
War of the Worlds. He's been in everything.
Frankenstein. But I can't remember. Which, by the way, I should tell you. Oh, Dracula. I actually was a treasure hunter. And we worked a wreck in the Bahamas called the Senora de las Maravillas. which was the second richest Spanish treasure galleon to ever go down. And we pulled about $1 million worth of gold, silver, and jewelry off that one. And I have with me, if you would like to see it, an actual piece of 8 that I pulled off the wreck. So when we're finished, if you'd like to come up and see it, I'd like to show it to you. Now, when you're, I should, it's kind of funny. When you're putting on one of these expeditions, it's something. They're incredibly expensive. You have technicians with all sorts of gizmos. And the treasure is, of course, supposed to go to the ship. And in our case, 10% went to the Bahamian government. But being a diver, every once in a while you find a coin and goes up the sleeve. So this coin is an up the sleeve coin. So if you'd like to see it afterwards, I'd be more than happy to show it to you. Okay, Anita, thank you so very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I
Thank you
really
for being with
appreciate
our
it.
group
And
all
I
these
would
years.
like to thank everyone in the troop here. They're absolutely wonderful people. I am really going to miss this. I love doing this kind of work. And they are the real heroes here. You know, and they are. I learned so much from them. It's absolutely incredible, especially my buddy Phil.
We'll leave our sound effects table up for about 5 minutes if anybody wants to drop by. Didn't they do a great job with the sound? Thank you so much for coming out.
Yeah, well, thank you all for being here. My last
Thank
performance.
you.
So if you'd like to see the piece of 8, here's
Piece of 8. Piece of 8.